What's going on, guys? Third video in 2 days. Yeah, that probably seems like a record at this point, but anyways, today's video is going to be my amusement slash theme park pet peeves. Now, I was able to come up with 7, and this is going to be a mostly very negative video. And, don't get me wrong, I love going to, traveling different parks and all that, but there are some things that really at any park just annoy me. And I got a list of 7 of them. Yeah, this is going to be a very negative video, and I think part of the reason they get to me so much is I feel like the parks can do so much more. Like, some of these things are just extremely avoidable, and the parks just don't do enough to prevent them, I feel. But I've never ran a park, what do I know? But that's generally been my experience anyway. So, yeah, and also, this is not in any particular order, so like, the first one I mentioned, the last one I mentioned, isn't necessarily what gets to me the most. This is kind of just like a randomized order. I have them in here. So, yeah, and I wanted to wait until, I traveled to more different parks too. I feel like after this year's trip and having Great Adventure as my home park, and even last year's trip too, I was able to come up with a pretty solid list for this. So, we're going to get started now. First one, confusing policies and, inconsistency. I was actually going to have confusing policies and confusing water ride policies separately, but then I was like, in the end I decided that didn't really make much sense. So, yeah. But with the start of the water ride policies, now this just baffles me. So, and Great Adventure actually, ironically, I think does this better than most parks. But, yeah, at Cedar Point for, Snake Rattle Falls and Dollywood for Daredevil Falls, I believe. I almost said Daredevil Dive accidentally. They don't have a thing on the side for you to put your loose articles, which I think is ridiculous. And so I'm pretty much, forced to buy a locker or have your phone right with you. But here's the thing. No one, the person at the front entrance didn't say a word when I walked into the queue with my, string bag and other things. Didn't say a word. They might have been clueless to the policy. Who knows? And then when I'm next in line for both of them, they're like, oh, that has to ride with you. I'm like, okay, put this to the side. And they're like, no, it has to ride with you. And in my head, I'm just sitting there scratching my head because that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like, I seriously wonder how many complaints with water damage phones they get on that per day. And they're like, sorry, it has to go with a non-rider or in a locker. And they waited until right as I was boarding the ride to even tell me. Come on. That's when you, that just doesn't make sense, I feel. Kings Island, this was kind of an issue with what was it? Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown. But the Rapids ride there, it did it a lot better, and they actually had, a bin on the side platform. I put it there, however, the bin was soaking wet, and my phone charger got water damage. That's not a story I want to get into. But ever since then, I just bought lockers for water rides. I never took the chance again. But, yeah, I feel like every water ride should at least have, a bin on the side because, your phone has to ride with you on that's ridiculous. And I don't think you need me to tell you that. Or, the ride, or, I'm not trying to, blame, people who, working at the park or whatever, but that just baffles me. To no end. At King's Dominion, I don't think it was an issue. Actually, King's Dominion, we just bought a locker. Escape from Pompeii, this was an issue, and didn't say anything until we were next to board, and the locker we got was, flooded. That's ridiculous. So, yeah, it's pretty confusing water ride policy. Now, confusing policies in general. Now, Twisted Timbers, I think it might have just been, a mix-up. But I was told by the person at the front entrance that I was allowed into the station and queue with my water bottle. And then I get to the station, I'm about to board, and they're like, I'm putting off to the side. They're like, sorry, that has to go in a locker. And I was like, oh, the person at the front entrance said it didn't have to. And they're like, well, it does. But they waited. They actually, I had to walk all the way back to the locker, which was kind of annoying. But they waited to dispatch the train until I got back, which was really generous on their end, I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, but it's like keep it consistent, or at least have your employees train better to at least know the policies. Like that's yeah. Again, some parks do this better than others, but it's like keep it consistent. Now the next one. Now this is a big not a big option, big problem. My home park fights, and so yeah, I've seen fights break out at Great Adventure before. I usually try to keep my distance, but it's like, come on, you're at the park to have a good time. Don't make it miserable for everyone else just over something silly like that. And I actually, fun fact, I actually know someone that used to work there, and they actually told me a story about when they were closing one of the rides right at closing hour. This lady threw a water bottle at him. I chucked a souvenir cup at him because he was just doing his job of closing right at 9:30. It's like, come on. So I know some people are just immature, but that's just ridiculous. And then if a ride gets stopped because like a phone and the person is just sitting there wasting their time and everyone else's time arguing with the ride op, that's yeah. I mean, generally this is mainly a Great Adventure problem. From what I've seen, like I don't think I saw any fights at King's Dominion. I don't think I saw any Busch Gardens. Carowinds I actually did at Intimidator. These like little kids like trying to like wrestle on the station or whatever. I honestly don't even know. I saw it right in front of me though, but I will applaud the Intimidator crew with how well they handled it. Well, I think they did like tell him, like they told him a couple times to leave, or they were gonna call security, and then eventually, after about 5 minutes, they finally left, and everyone was kind of booing in the station, me included. And so, yeah, I just think like the whole thing with fights at the parks, man, I think that's just ridiculous. It's not necessary, and yeah, it's supposed to be like a happy kind of atmosphere, and don't just you know make it not one for everybody else. Now, this next one. Now, this is... I've seen a couple park pet peeves videos, and honestly, I don't think this one is common enough. Because this really gets under my skin. Slow people in line. For rides, especially. I mean... Not saying everyone should be, like, running through the queues like crazy people, but... keep it in between. Don't be walking, like, 1 to 2 miles an hour when the rest of the line is moving at a normal pace. I had to deal with this at I-305 when I was trying to do my night ride marathon, and that almost costed me getting the front row for my last ride. And on the inside, I was losing my patience. I was fuming. Just because of that silliness. They're walking like 2, miles an hour in the line. I mean, the line's like a standstill because the ride's down, whatever, fine. But at least, like, when you're in the line for a ride, at least, walk at a normal pace. Don't make the line dramatically longer for everybody else just because of something like that. That's something I don't understand, and quite frankly, I don't think I ever will. I mean, slow people in, like, the pathways right in front of you, I mean, it's not a big deal because you can just walk around them. But, like, in the lines for, like, like the rides, like, that's no. That honestly gets me even more than line cutting, which we will get to later. I mean, it's happened at Great Adventure before also, and I can kind of let it go there because those are rides I ride all the time, but I-305 obviously is not something I ride all the time. Or if I've only been in that park once in my life. So, yeah, it's definitely, I view that as a big issue. Now the next one, bad/overpriced food. Now the bad part is subjective because, I mean, I know amusement park food is not really looked upon highly. And for the right reasons. But I've got to, a number of different parks now that have proven that you actually can have good food in an amusement park. I'm going to give a couple examples. I mean, Kennywood, I only tried the potato patch fries, but they were very good. Cedar Point, I believe I only had Chick-fil-A and Chicky and Pizza, really no different than you get everywhere else. Both those are very good, obviously. Kings Island, I had a burger from this, like, brew house, I think. It was fine, it was okay. It wasn't nasty. It was tolerable. It was better than anything I've ever had at Great Adventure, probably. And New England, I really don't remember because I went so long ago. But King's Dominion, very good food for Sierra Fair. Like, that fried chicken I had at Firehouse Grill, I was like, whoa. Like, this is actually amazing for theme park food. Busch Gardens obviously has a whole nother level. Dollywood, the pizza I had, I thought it was going to be like, it was good. And then the cinnamon bread, obviously, that's just in a class of its own. So, yeah, but the overpriced food is an issue really across the board. Like, sometimes, like, when you're charging, like, $35 for, like, something that would normally be, like, $15 at, like, a normal place, sometimes to me it just feels like a sneaky way the parks try to get more money. And, but it's a huge difference, though, when you're paying, that, like, a $25 for something actually decent to good versus paying $25 for dog water. It's a huge difference. And so, yeah, I mean, definitely, on my last 2 trips, I was definitely spending a fortune on theme park food, which wasn't something I was really too happy about, but, yeah, I just think if they had the food more reasonably priced, it would be better, and then, bad food, I mean, Great Adventure, I mean, doesn't have a very good reputation for food, rightfully so, because a lot of the food I've had is pretty terrible. Best of the West was, I think, the worst designer Best of the West while it was around, or Garden State Grill. Garden State Grill, the onion rings, when I've had them, oh my god, I almost threw up, those were so nasty. But Best of the West while it was around wasn't that much better. And, yeah. Pretty much, I mean, with Great Adventure, I would just say, improve the quality and cheapen the price so that, you aren't paying $30 for shit, literally. But, yeah, like I said, the overpriced food is an issue across the board, but it's kind of subjective. Now, the next one, loose articles on rides. Now, if your phone's in, like, a secured zipper pocket, fine. That's one thing. But when you're literally, like, having out on the ride, recording or texting a lift to, like, a loser, that's a different story entirely. Great Adventure, I've seen this is far too common. Like, I think there was one day I was there where I literally saw every ride stop for a phone. Like, that is just, no. And I definitely don't think, I mean, they do their best in enforcing it, but some people that go there just are as dumb-minded. And that is to say the very least. But, I think Great Adventure actually enforces the no loose articles rule better than a lot of other parks. Kings Island last year, though, I'm going to get to this, and this got me livid. So I was on the right side of Racer. This girl in front of me was texting on the lift hill and throughout the entire ride, and the ride operator did nothing. I don't know how he didn't notice, but I spent the whole entire ride, because he never put it away. I spent the whole entire ride ducking my head, thinking, oh shit, am I about to get hit in the head with a phone? Yeah. The fact that the ride operator did nothing, that was just, that's not acceptable. And, Cedar Point, I mean, I think they actually stopped Millennium Force when we were in line for it because someone lost their phone. That's another thing that shouldn't be allowed. Like, okay, dumbass, you had it in a non-secured pocket. You had it on the ride and you lost it. Your loss. That's how, I would have done it if I was, making rules of the park like that. Like, stopping a ride because, I mean, if you stop the ride, like, mid-course because someone has it out, I'm all for it. But because they lost it or it flew out, no. That shouldn't be allowed. In my book. But, just like, yeah, I mean, even, like, pivot head glasses is one thing because they're secure. But, like, just like, having your phone out, on a ride like that and, putting the other riders that are on the ride with you in danger, I don't think, I mean, is your text or your POV really worth someone going to the hospital right after the ride? Answer that for me in the comments. I'm dying to know. No, it's not. I didn't think so. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for that one. Now the next one, bad drinking water / warm water fountains. Now, this is really only a Great Adventure issue with the bad drinking water. Like, if you're going to be going to the park on a 100-degree day, you got to at least have refreshing water somewhere that's not in the hydration station. Like, the water generally from, soda fountains, like, it just, something about it just doesn't taste right to me. Like, it tastes worse than Dasani water, probably. I mean, I always ask for it with a lot of ice because, that at least makes it bearable. So it's nice and cold. But, yeah, that I feel like is just such a simple thing. Just have good quality drinking water in the parks. And, I mean, it's good that they give it to you for free, but they give you, like, this small of a cup. And instead of, just giving you a bigger one, they'll give you, like, 4 of those. Like, I think that's ridiculous. And, charging $5 for a water bottle, like, on like a 95 to 100-degree day in the middle of summer, that is just cruel. And that is an issue. That's not just Great Adventure issue. That is an issue across the board. Like, I think, like, for something like that, I mean, if you want to charge more for, like, a soda cup filled with water, fine. But $5 for, like, a water bottle like that? No. And now the warm water fountains, I mean, that's mainly just, like, a Carowinds issue, but I went to, like, it took me, like, 6, like, I had to go, like, 6 different ones just to get a fountain, to get cold water out of a fountain. Like, and this is on an almost 100-degree day, too. That is ridiculous. And, again, that is a very easy fix that, I feel like, the parks definitely should, do more about. And now the last one, line cutting, and this is not, I'm not talking about flash pass, I'm not talking about skip the lines, and I'm not talking about any form of legalized line cutting. This is solely, like when you're, like, in line and then, I don't even know what line cutting is. So, yeah, like, I feel like it's just, like, not fair to the people who are, in line waiting, they wait, like, an hour for the ride, and then they suddenly get cut ahead by, like, 5 people and they're, like, next to board. Like, I just don't think that's right. I mean, I kind of get, like, trying to, like, meet up with a group if you had to, like, leave the line for some reason, but at most parks, I think all parks I've been to, that's not allowed, which is fair. I don't think it should be. But, like, that's the one thing, it's like, I don't do that, but I can understand someone's temptation to do that. But even, like, just in general, I mean, Great Adventure, it's incredibly common. A lot of the time, I'm kind of just like, expect it, so be it, and then it just happens. But it does get under my skin. And, I mean, there was one time I was there back in 2018. I was with Avery at the time, and, so, like, 2 people cut in front of us in Toro's line, and the security guard was right there, did absolutely nothing. That's and it's clearly a rule at the parks. That is just wrong. Like, if you clearly see it happen right in front of you, at least, do something. Like, yeah, isn't that part of security's job, I think? Yeah. I mean, at that park, I mean, it's more common, but it doesn't bother me as much because I ride those rides all the time. But, yeah, I think, I mean, King's Dominion, this really wasn't an issue. Busch Gardens really wasn't an issue. But, I mean, at King's Dominion, there was really barely any lines to cut anyway. So, yeah. Yeah, I know this is probably at, like, top of people's lists. It's not really at the top of mine. But, like, yes, explanation's simple. It's just not fair to those who are, waiting in a long line and then they get cut at the last second. Like, that's... Even an ADA pass, that's fine. That's one thing. But that form of line cutting, no. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoy. I know this was a very negative video, but quite frankly, I mean, it was a pet peeves video, so I didn't really have very many kind things to say here. And so, yeah, like always, not everything in life is perfect. Even amusement parks aren't perfect, but I feel like, parks really should do more to fix all of these. That's just me. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So.